Rena Thorne's fingers danced over her collection of spice jars, each movement precise and practiced from years in professional kitchens. The familiar sense of Earth's finest seasonings wafted through her modest stall in the Centauri Trade Hub, a sharp contrast to the synthetic atmosphere of the massive space station she now called home. "Another slow day in paradise," she muttered, adjusting the display of cardamom pods that had cost her half a month's profits to import. The spice trade wasn't the most lucrative business for a retired chef, but it kept her connected to her roots while humanity found its place among the stars. The morning crowd filled the market corridor with its usual symphony of alien languages and footsteps. Rena's stall, wedged between a Proximan crystal merchant and an automated nutrient dispenser, attracted its fair share of curious glances. Most species found Earth's obsession with flavoring food puzzling at best, dangerous at worst. A shadow fell across her counter, different from the usual window shoppers. Rena looked up to find herself face to face with a Zephyrian, their species' characteristic opalescent skin shifting colors like oil on water. This one's epidermis displayed subtle patterns of blue and gold, marking her as someone of diplomatic rank. "I am Naira Voss," the Zephyrian announced, her universal translator giving her words a musical lilt. "These are Earth substances for consumption." Rena straightened, suppressing a smile at the formal phrasing. "Yes, Ambassador. Earth spices and seasonings, each one certified safe for most carbon-based life forms." Naira's epidermis rippled with patterns of curiosity, one of the few Zephyrian expressions Rena had learned to recognize. "We have heard stories of these Earth flavors. They say they can alter one's perception of reality." "That's a bit dramatic," Rena chuckled, reaching for a small jar of her mildest blend. "They enhance the taste of food, that's all. Would you like to try a sample? This one's a mixture of basic seasonings we call herbes de Provence." The Zephyrian hesitated, her skin shifting to a more cautious pattern of greens and silvers. "Your species consumes these regularly?" "Every day." Rena opened the jar, allowing a small amount of the dried herbs to fall into a sample dish. "It's perfectly safe. Just touch it to your taste sensors, what you'd call a tongue." Naira's slender fingers trembled slightly as she lifted the dish. A moment later, her entire epidermis exploded into a riot of colors Rena had never seen on a Zephyrian before. The diplomat's multifaceted eyes widened, and she gripped the counter for support. "Ambassador." Rena reached across, concerned. "Are you all right?" "The sensations," Naira whispered, her translator struggling to keep up with her rapid speech. "They're extraordinary. Our species prides itself on sensory perception, but this is beyond anything in our experience." Rena frowned. She'd seen unusual reactions to Earth spices before, but nothing like this. "Maybe you should sit down. I have a chair in the back." "No." Naira's skin settled into deep purples and golds, her composure returning though her eyes remained wide. "No, I am well. Better than well. These herbs, they've awakened something we didn't know existed." She straightened, suddenly every inch the diplomat again despite the lingering colors of excitement in her skin. "I must know more about these Earth substances. For scientific purposes, of course." "Of course," Rena agreed, not believing it for a second. She'd spent enough years in professional kitchens to recognize someone who'd just discovered a new addiction, even if they were from another species. "I closed the stall at Station Sunset. Perhaps we could discuss the various properties of Earth seasonings over a meal." Naira's skin flickered with patterns that Rena suspected meant either embarrassment or anticipation. Possibly both. That would be acceptable. For cultural exchange purposes. As the diplomat left with a small collection of sample jars, Rena began mentally revising her dinner plans. Something told her this was going to be more than just another business transaction. When humanity joined the galactic community, everyone expected Earth's contributions would be in technology or resources. Who would have thought it would be their spice cabinet that built the first real bridge between species? Little did Rena know, But that simple sample of herbs would spark a chain of events that would reshape human-alien relations forever, all because a curious Zephyrian diplomat couldn't resist the taste of Earth. Dr. Jace Hammond's laboratory in the Centauri Trade Hub's Cynobiology wing wasn't meant to be a culinary testing ground. But today, the sterile space smelled more like a spice market than a scientific facility. The xenobiologist adjusted his scanning equipment, while Naira Voss sat perfectly still, her opalescent skin shifting through subtle shades of anticipation. "You're certain about this, Ambassador?" Jace asked, calibrating his neural activity monitors. "The diplomatic corps might not appreciate you volunteering as a test subject." "Proceed, Doctor." Naira's skin rippled with determination. This discovery could revolutionize our understanding of cross-species biochemistry. Rena watched from the corner, her chef's apron incongruous among the lab equipment. She brought her entire collection of spices at Jace's request, each carefully labeled and measured. The sight of her cooking ingredients arranged like scientific specimens made her oddly proud. Starting with the control substance, Jace announced, offering Naira a small sample of basic black pepper. The moment it touched her taste sensors, the monitors erupted with activity. "Fascinating," Jace muttered, studying the readings. "Your neural pathways are lighting up in patterns I've never seen before. It's as if the capsaicin is triggering synaptic responses that were previously dormant." Naira's skin blazed with patches of brilliant copper and azure. The sensation. It's like discovering a new color, a new way of experiencing reality itself. Rena stepped forward, her curiosity overcoming her attempt to remain a passive observer. But why? Humans have been using these spices for thousands of years. They're just seasonings to us. Perhaps that's precisely why we missed it, Jace said, his eyes never leaving the monitors. "We were looking for grand technological achievements, complex chemical compounds. Nobody thought to study simple organic substances that humans use daily." The next few hours became a careful dance of experimentation. Each spice produced unique reactions in Naira's neural patterns, some subtle, others dramatically intense. Cinnamon created waves of pleasure responses, while cardamom triggered something akin to spiritual enlightenment in her brain chemistry. "It's not just the taste," Naira explained, her skin shimmering with excited patterns as she tried to articulate the experience. "Each substance opens new pathways of perception. It's as if..." She paused, searching for words the translator could handle, "as if we've been experiencing reality through a filtered lens, and these earth seasonings temporarily remove that filter." Jace's excitement was barely contained as he compiled the data. The implications are staggering. Zephyrian physiology is renowned for its sensory capabilities, but these spices are accessing neural channels your species didn't even know it possessed. "And there are no adverse effects?" Rena asked, her years of culinary safety training asserting themselves. "None that I can detect," Jace replied, reviewing his readings. "If anything, the neural pathways appear to be strengthening with each exposure. It's like exercise for parts of the brain that have never been used before." Naira's skin settled into thoughtful swirls of deep purple and gold. "My people have always prided ourselves on our sophisticated sensory abilities. To discover that simple earth substances could enhance them so dramatically." She turned to Rena, her multifaceted eyes intense. "This could change everything between our species." Before anyone could respond, the lab's communication panel chimed. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to First Consul Meredith of the Zephyrian Diplomatic Corps, her skin patterns radiating authority and concern. "Ambassador Voss," the consul's translator rendered her tones sharp and formal. "We've received reports of your experiments. The council requires your immediate presence for consultation." Naira's skin flickered with defiance before settling into diplomatic neutrality. "Of course, First Consul. I'll prepare a full report on our findings." "This is not about findings, Ambassador," Meredith interrupted. "This is about the potential compromise of Zephyrian cultural purity. These earth substances, there are concerns about their influence on our people." Rena felt her heart sink. She'd seen this before, fear of the unknown masquerading as cultural preservation. But before she could speak, Naira straightened, her skin blazing with colors of conviction. With respect, First Consul, I believe you should experience this for yourself before making judgments. What we've discovered here isn't a threat to our culture. It's an opportunity to expand it. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Finally, Meredith's skin showed patterns of reluctant curiosity. Prepare your report, Ambassador, and perhaps include samples for the Council's direct examination. After the communication ended, Rena let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Well, that could have gone worse. Indeed, Naira agreed, her skin still showing traces of tension. But now we must convince my people that expanding their sensory experience won't diminish who we are. She turned to Rena with patterns of determination rippling across her surface. I'll need more of your spices, enough for the entire council. Rena smiled, already mentally calculating quantities. I think I have just the blend in mind. Something diplomatic, with just a hint of revolution. News travels fast in space stations, especially when it involves controversial discoveries. Within days of Naira's meeting with the Council, the Centauri trade hub buzzed with rumors about Earth spices and their effects on Zephyrian physiology. Rena's once quiet stall had become the center of an interstellar cultural storm. I'm sorry, but I can't sell you any more today, Rena explained to the fifth Zephyrian customer that morning. Her skin patterns showed clear disappointment, bordering on desperation. Council regulations require proper documentation for bulk purchases. The crowd at her stall thinned reluctantly, leaving Rena alone with her dwindling inventory. She'd never imagined her modest spice business would require security protocols. But here she was, checking identification chips and filing purchase reports. Quite the situation you've created, a familiar voice observed. Dr. Jace Hammond leaned against her counter, looking as exhausted as she felt. The xenobiology department is swamped with research requests. Everyone wants to study the Earth substance phenomenon. Rena snorted, securing her remaining stock. Try being at the source. I've had offers from 3 different pharmaceutical corporations trying to synthesize and patent my spice blends. That's actually why I'm here. Jace glanced around before lowering his voice. We've detected some concerning patterns. Underground spice trading, attempts at chemical reproduction, even some cases of adverse reactions from improper use. Spirits preserve us, Rena muttered. We're turning into the spice cartels of old Earth. Where's Naira? We need her diplomatic influence on this. In continuous sessions with the Council. Jace ran a hand through his disheveled hair. The conservative faction sees this as a threat to Zephyrian cultural purity. They're pushing for a complete ban on Earth seasonings. Before Rena could respond, her communication device chimed with an urgent message. Naira's face appeared, her skin patterns showing stress beneath her diplomatic composure. Rena, we have a situation. The Council chambers, as soon as possible. Bring Dr. Hammond, and bring your spices, all of them. The Council chambers occupy the highest level of the Zephyrian diplomatic wing, its transparent walls offering a spectacular view of the surrounding space. When Rena and Jace arrived, they found the room in chaos. 24 Zephyrian Council members displayed agitated color patterns, their overlapping voices overwhelming the translation systems. Naira stood at the center, her skin showing patches of determined gold amidst storms of frustration. First Consul Meredith occupied the primary speaking position, her patterns radiating authority and concern. Order. Meredith's translated voice cut through the chaos. We will maintain proper protocol. Her multifaceted eyes fixed on Rena. Chef Thorne, your Earth substances have created unprecedented disruption in our community. Rena stepped forward, channeling years of kitchen authority into her voice. With respect, First Consul, your people sought out these spices of their own accord. We followed every regulation. Regulations cannot account for cultural contamination, a council member interrupted. their skin flashing warning patterns. Our youth are becoming addicted to these foreign sensations. They neglect our traditional sensory practices in favor of Earth-induced experiences. That's not addiction, Jace interjected, pulling up data on his portable display. Our research shows no physical dependency. What you're seeing is natural curiosity, the desire to expand sensory awareness. Through foreign substances, another council member's patterns showed disgust. We are Zephyrians. Our sensory capabilities are our cultural heritage, refined through millennia of practice. We cannot allow Earth chemicals to shortcut our traditions. Naira moved to stand beside Rena, her skin blazing with conviction. Our traditions celebrate the expansion of perception. These spices don't replace our practices, they enhance them. I've experienced it myself. The combined application of our traditional techniques with Earth seasonings has led to depths of awareness we never imagined possible. And that's precisely what concerns us, Meredith said, her patterns softening slightly. Such rapid expansion of consciousness. Are we truly ready for it? Rena reached into her bag, drawing out a small jar that drew every Zephyrian eye in the room. First Consul, members of the Council, I've prepared something special, a blend created with both our peoples in mind. She opened the jar, releasing an aroma that made the Council members' skin shimmer with involuntary interest. This combines Earth's finest spices with elements of your traditional sensory aids. It's not about replacing your culture, it's about bridging our worlds. The chamber fell silent as Meredith approached, her skin showing complex patterns of conflict and curiosity. You created this specifically for us. For both of us, Rena corrected. Humans may not have your sensory capabilities, but we understand the importance of tradition. We've spent thousands of years developing our own relationships with these substances, turning simple plants into connections between peoples and cultures. Naira stepped forward, her skin glowing with hope. First Consul, let us show you, not just the sensations, but the potential for something new, something that honors both our heritage and our future. Meredith's patterns shifted through deep contemplation before settling into a decision. Prepare your demonstration, Ambassador. The Council will experience this bridge between our peoples firsthand. As they began setting up the carefully measured samples, Rena caught Naira's eye. The Zephyrian skin showed patterns of gratitude and something deeper, a personal connection that transcended their cultural differences. Whatever happens next, Naira said softly, you've already changed us, Rena Thorne. The question is no longer whether our peoples can connect, but how deeply that connection will grow. The Galactic Council chamber dwarfed any room Rena had ever cooked in, its vast circular space designed to accommodate representatives from hundreds of species. Today, every chair was filled with delegates eager to witness the unprecedented hearing. The first time Earth's culinary practices have become a matter of interstellar diplomacy. The Council recognizes Ambassador Naira Voss of the Zephyrian Diplomatic Corps, announced the Chief Arbiter, a crystalline being whose thoughts translated directly into multiple languages. You may present your findings regarding the Earth substance phenomenon. Naira's skin rippled with composed determination as she took the central platform. Behind her, Rena and Dr. Hammond arranged their carefully prepared demonstration materials. The stakes couldn't be higher. Their presentation would determine not just the future of Earth spices in space, but potentially the course of human-alien relations. Esteemed members of the Council, Naira began, her translator perfectly conveying her measured tones. What we initially discovered as a curious reaction to Earth seasonings has revealed itself to be something far more significant. A bridge between consciousness itself. Holoprojectors activated, displaying Dr. Hammond's neural scanning data. These patterns show more than simple sensory stimulation. Earth's natural compounds interact with Zephyrian physiology in ways that expand our perceptual capabilities, not through artificial means, but by awakening latent potential within our own biology. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Rena noticed several delegates leaning forward, their various sensory organs focused intently on the presentation. The Arcturian representative's tentacles writhed with what she hoped was interest. But the true significance, Naira continued, her skin shifting to patterns of passionate conviction, lies not in the physical effects, but in what this discovery represents. Throughout galactic history, most significant interactions between species have been driven by technology, resources, or conflict. This, her patterns rippled with emphasis, this is about sharing experience itself. Dr. Hammond stepped forward, adding his scientific perspective. Our research suggests that every species' sensory apparatus evolved to perceive a specific slice of reality. What Earth's spices do for Zephyrians, and potentially for others, is temporarily expand that slice, allowing glimpses of a broader existence. Pretty words, interrupted Delegate Corax, a notorious skeptic from the Regilian Empire. But they don't address the fundamental concern, that these substances are creating dependency and disrupting established cultural patterns. Rena felt her patience snap. She hadn't spent 30 years in professional kitchens to be lectured about cultural disruption by someone who'd never experienced the unifying power of shared food. Before Naira could offer a diplomatic response, Rena stepped to the platform. "Distinguished delegates," she said, her voice carrying the authority of countless kitchen commands, "I've been a chef longer than some of your species have been spacefaring. Let me tell you what really creates dependency. Fear. Fear of the new, fear of change, fear of discovering that your comfortable slice of reality isn't all there is." She gestured to their prepared samples. "These spices aren't about dependency. They're about choice, about voluntarily expanding your understanding of existence one taste at a time. On Earth, we've used them for millennia not to escape our reality, but to enhance our appreciation of it." The chamber had gone silent. Even Corax's critical expression had shifted to something more contemplative. Naira's skin showed patterns of pride and support as Rena continued. "We're not asking for unrestricted distribution or mandatory usage. We're proposing a controlled cultural exchange program. Supervised tastings, certified suppliers, proper education about effects and usage. Let our peoples learn from each other, starting with something as simple as sharing a meal." Dr. Hammond activated a new holographic display, showing the success rates of their initial controlled studies. "We've already established safety protocols and dosage guidelines. With proper oversight, this could become a model for future cultural exchange programs." The chief arbiter's crystalline form shimmed with consideration. "The council will require a demonstration. Volunteers from various species to participate in a controlled tasting session." "We anticipated this," Naira said, her skin patterns showing careful optimism. She gestured to the arranged samples. "We've prepared appropriate portions for every compatible species represented here, each carefully calibrated for individual biochemistry." What followed was unlike anything in the Council's long history. One by one, delegates stepped forward to experience Earth's spices. Each reaction was unique. The Arcturians' tentacles changed color. The Regilians' crystalline structures refracted light in new patterns. The Proximan delegates emitted soft harmonic tones. Throughout it all, Rena watched in amazement as barriers between species seemed to dissolve, replaced by shared experience and wonder. Even Delegate Corax, after his cautious taste, displayed signs of what his species considered profound enlightenment. "This," Naira said softly beside her, her skin showing patterns of deep satisfaction. "This is what we hoped for. Not just tolerance or acceptance, but true understanding." As the council chamber buzzed with excited discussion and shared experiences, Rena realized they'd created something far beyond a simple trade agreement. They'd opened a door between worlds, using nothing more complex than the contents of a spice cabinet. The chief arbiter's form crystallized into the pattern that indicated an official pronouncement. The chamber fell silent, waiting for judgment that would shape the future of interstellar cultural exchange. 6 months after the historic Galactic Council hearing, Rena stood in the gleaming kitchen of the newly established Earth Zephyrian Cultural Center, surrounded by students from both species. The space combined the precision of a scientific laboratory with the warmth of a traditional Earth kitchen, and the air filled with an intoxicating blend of aromas from two worlds. Remember, she instructed, watching as her students carefully measured ingredients, cooking is about more than following recipes. It's about understanding how different elements work together to create something entirely new. Beside her, Naira's skin shimmed with teaching patterns as she guided a young human through traditional Zephyrian sensory exercises. The sight still amazed Rena, humans learning to expand their perceptual awareness, while Zephyrians discovered the joy of creating complex flavor profiles. Ambassador Voss, a human student, called out, "My sensory meditation is improving, but I still can't see the color patterns you described." Naira moved to the student's station, her skin showing encouraging patterns. Human physiology may not allow for full Zephyrian perception, but that's not the goal. We're learning to appreciate our differences while finding new ways to connect. Dr. Hammond's latest research had proven that while humans couldn't achieve the full sensory expansion that Zephyrians experienced with spices, regular exposure to the combined practices of both cultures had begun to enhance human perceptual abilities in subtle but meaningful ways. Quantum entanglement of consciousness, he'd explained during his last visit, excitement making him more animated than usual. The spices are just the catalyst. The real changes come from sustained cultural exchange and shared experience. The success of their program had exceeded even the Galactic Council's optimistic projections. What started as a controlled study in spice distribution had blossomed into a full-scale cultural exchange initiative. The center now offered courses in everything from cooking to meditation, art to music, all focused on blending the best aspects of both civilizations. Chef Thorne called out a Zephyrian student, their skin showing confusion patterns. "My sauce isn't developing the right complexity." Rena moved to the cooking station, inhaling the aroma. "Ah, you're thinking about it too linearly. Remember what we learned about spiral taste development. Try adding the spices in a circular pattern while focusing on your sensory expansion exercises." The student's skin shifted to understanding as they adjusted their technique. Moments later, their patterns blazed with achievement as the sauce transformed into something that pleased both Zephyrian and human senses. "Well done," Naira praised, her skin showing pride. "You've achieved true fusion, not just of flavors, but of perspectives." As the class continued their exercises, First Consul Meredith entered the teaching kitchen, her presence no longer carrying the tension it once had. Her skin displayed patterns of satisfaction as she observed the students' progress. "The Council's quarterly review committee will be pleased," she announced, sampling the students' creation with evident appreciation. "This program has become a model for interspecies cooperation. 3 other species have already requested similar exchange initiatives." Rena smiled, remembering the uncertainty they'd faced just months ago. Amazing what can happen when you give people a chance to expand their horizons. Indeed, Meredith's patterns showed thoughtful amusement, though I doubt anyone expected Earth's cooking ingredients to become the foundation for a galactic cultural revolution. After the class ended and the students filed out, Rena and Mara stood together at the kitchen's observation window, watching the stars. The Centauri Trade Hub had become a beacon for species seeking to understand each other better, and their center was at the heart of it all. "Did you ever imagine," Naira asked, her skin showing patterns of contentment and friendship, "that your little spice stall would lead to all this?" Rena laughed, shaking her head. "Never. I just wanted to bring a taste of home to the stars." She gestured at the busy cultural center around them. "But this is better than anything I could have dreamed up. It's more than just tastes and sensations now." Naira agreed, her patterns shifting to deep satisfaction. "We're creating something unprecedented, a true melding of worlds." As if to emphasize her point, music drifted from one of the center's practice rooms, a haunting melody that combined traditional Zephyrian harmonic patterns with Earth rhythms. In another room, artists from both species collaborated on works that captured the enhanced perceptions their shared practices had revealed. "You know what the best part is?" Rena said, turning to her friend. Every day, we're proving that the differences between species aren't barriers, they're opportunities. Every new combination, every shared experience, shows us another way our peoples can grow together. Naira's skin displayed patterns of affection and hope. And we've only just begun. There are so many more spices to explore, so many more connections to discover. As they stood there, watching their shared dream flourish around them, Rena couldn't help but smile at the poetry of it all. Humanity had reached for the stars expecting to find new worlds to conquer, new technologies to master. Instead, they'd discovered that their greatest contribution to galactic society was something as simple as the contents of their spice cabinets, and the willingness to share them with open hearts and minds. The future stretched before them like an endless feast, filled with possibilities neither species had imagined before they learned to truly taste each other's worlds.